Rick, you ready for this?
Good morning, Keith. I am indeed.
Awesome. The title of this one is going to be Fast and Slow at the Same Time. This is a an expression that I was recently reminded of, but I first heard it when I was in the South. And they would, some of the older folks would describe someone as that boy's fast and slow at the same time. It's how they would say it. And they would be referring to how this person might have natural talent. Let's say that they're, when it comes to a foot race, they're very smart. But when it comes to making wise choices, they're very slow. They have
Oh,
they
yeah.
have deficits.
I get it.
Yeah, they have deficits in that area. And when I look at my life, this totally described me upon reflection. I was really good at being disciplined, organized, and committed, especially when it comes to things like financial planning, planning
Mhm.
out, the steps that I need to take to achieve a specific goal. I was fast in those areas. Founding ToBeRe and working on my physical well-being. I was fast in those areas. The areas that I was slow in were also there. And one of those areas were is like, in full, being vulnerable and open. Like I dated a lot, man. I was in relationships all the time, didn't have honesty and integrity present in those relationships. And it caused a whole lot of suffering. And people would tell me, like, this is not going to end well. Don't bother me with the facts. I want to date somebody else. I mean, I just, continue this behavior for a long time, not really, not making myself stay in the moment to be aware of the cost to that behavior. And it happened in other areas too. Going to Yuma, as I mentioned, I was slow there. I had an opportunity to really make the most of that experience there, but instead, for 4 years, I wasted it complaining the whole time. That's an example of being slow, complaining about the same thing. At the village where I used to first start teaching spin classes, there would be a waiting list, and the class was very popular, and I'm grateful that people enjoyed the class. That I was fortunate enough to lead. But there was this wise manager there, very wise manager, and I got into a situation with a member there. She would come to class late all the time, and one time I had enough, and I told her that she couldn't take the class because it was disruptive. And she went to the general manager and they told me that I need to apologize. I was like, I'm not apologizing. I did nothing wrong. You need to apologize to me and everybody else in that class. That's an example of being slow, right? The manager saw the bigger picture. Like, let that go. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be right about everything, but I was slow in that. My ego was all involved and I didn't want to, I thought it was a concession, to give that up, but it was actually wisdom, to let that go. I mean, she's already late. It's already happened. What did I care? So, and I can think of many more examples, Rick, to where I was fast and slow at the same time. And now I'm working on being steady. I just want to be steady, Rick, just,
Yeah.
just consistent. So, what are your thoughts about this idea of fast and slow at the same time?
Well, I was thinking as you were telling your examples what a few of mine might be, but I think
Please.
I'm generally slow about letting things go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of an Achilles heel that I've struggled with all my life. And the idea is not a keeping score attitude, but more about I remember pain and I remember who inflicted it. And I remember how terrible it felt and how unfair it felt. And so over the years, it took me a long time to realize that by not letting go, I was remaining slow in the sense that I was slow to accept reality and accept that letting go ends suffering
Yeah.
and ends suffering. So letting go is really a self-help tool. And I was slow to realize that the self-help tool is always there available for you to use whenever you want. So I guess the letting go, why is that so hard for humans to do? I think it's because we live in a culture that is fault-based. We're always trying to figure out who's responsible. We're always trying to figure out if there was a breach of duty that was owed to me or my group or whatever.
Yeah.
And we feel wronged, and then we feel like we've been treated unjustly, and we have a right to justice, and that means making them suffer, pain, causing them pain. I mean, it's a never-ending cycle. You know, it's like ending the troubles in Ireland, right? Who's going to
Right.
be the last person to die for their point of view? Same thing that's happening in the Middle East. So my point is that I think letting go is something that we should be very fast to accept, because letting go is what ends your suffering.
Absolutely.
If you can achieve that enlightened awareness where you just say, it's okay, whatever that happened, whatever happened, it's out, and I'm not going to let that trip me up anymore. And I'm going to be living in the present moment without having to judge what happened in the past. Anyway, those are a few ideas I have about fast and slow. Big fault of mine, though, is not being able to let go. But these tools that we talk about in the practice allow us to do that. And most importantly, the tools in the practice allow us just to monitor when we're screwing up, when we're not letting go, for example. And if you can just sort of shortcut it, and think, by not letting go, I'm hurting myself.
Yeah.
It's just like anger. By being angry, I'm hurting myself. Anger is a great motivator, but it's certainly not a sustaining way to live life. So by not letting go, that is the kind of thing that will cause you more pain. It's the old, struck by the arrow, and then you're thinking about the arrow being in your flesh so long that it takes on a life of its own. It becomes even worse than the original strike of the arrow. Anyway, a couple of thoughts for me.
I love it, Rick. You hit it nail on the head. Yeah, fast and slow at the same time. Many examples, Rick. I love you.
I love you, Keith. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.